to continue our series for Kiwanis Let's Talk, and we have speakers already lined up, and we've got more information out there. So I want to start today by welcoming our presenter, Kathy Tutty. Kathy is the immediate past governor of the Montana district of Kiwanis. And just a little bit of history about her. She's a public speaker, a writer, a laughter yoga teacher, photographer, and a general practice attorney. She's the oldest of 9 children and lives in Butte, Montana, near her extended family of 35, including 15 nieces and nephews. She earned her undergraduate degree in English cum laude from St. Mary College in Leavenworth, Kansas, and her law degree cum laude from Creighton University in Omaha. She was selected as the Attorney General's Honors Program at the U.S. Department of Justice upon graduation, has been a special assistant U.S. attorney, where she prosecuted crimes that occurred in prisons in Washington, D.C. She currently manages a family and elder care estate law practice. She is distinguished president and serves as the immediate past governor for the Montana district of Kiwanis and president of her class of governors for Kiwanis International. She has been asked to present at a variety of international meetings and provided training to thousands of members worldwide. She also manages a variety of activities for children through her roles with the County Parks and Recreation Board, high school volleyball announcer and pole vault judge, the Iris Festival Kids activities, which means she will not be with us on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. But she's globally recognized for her engaging training and facilitation, and I'm very happy to have her with us tonight, kicking off Kiwanis Let's Talk. So Kathy, we're going to turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. You ready?
We're ready.
All right. Here we go. Wrong. Technology. It's a beautiful thing when it works.
Today, you're not going to be doing your normal classes. We are going to be thinking about what a difference volunteering can make and what a difference getting involved can make. We're here today in Grove Street Primary School, and we're doing a workshop all about volunteering and getting involved in school, in the school community and in your local community.
If someone fell over, you could say, do you want some help, and you could volunteer to help them. I would like to help people play football. If I could, I'd just volunteer to work in a pet shop or something. Yesterday I have been helping these little children how to dance because they were on a competition and didn't know how to dance. If someone's stuck in maths, you should always help them. In the future, I would want to help the environment.
What we're also going to ask them to do is create a timeline. I kind of call it the washing line of helpfulness. So we'll be able to kind of build up a picture of different ways in which the students are being kind of helped within the community.
I think it's important to help people with they're a bit hard, they're stuck, and I could just help them with a few things.
Then I've learned to always help people and join in activities.
So we're here to help the kids, but guess what? The kids are the ones that are going to teach us. And what did we learn from watching those kids just now? They all had something they were passionate about. I teach the little kids how to dance. The little kids. She looks like she's about 7, but she's teaching the little kids how to dance because that's what's important to her. So what's the mission that you're out to accomplish? And what do you need to accomplish it? I'm Kathy Tutty. I'm in Butte, Montana, where we have about 35,000 people. We've had about 35,000 people for a long time. Most of them are much older than they were when I was young. because most of them were young when I was young. And what we learned was if there was something we were passionate about, we could fulfill on it. Didn't matter what it was. We could find people who would do it with us or who would help us to get it done. So what do you need to make sure that you're taking care of volunteers? I'm going to say something a little radical. People don't volunteer. People do not volunteer. According to Volunteer Hub, 94% of the people who volunteer were asked. So how many of us rely on putting a post up on Facebook or a poster up in our local grocery stores or sending out a newsletter and thinking that that's going to have people volunteer? They're not going to volunteer. But if you ask them, they'll volunteer. So what are they going to volunteer for? What matters to them is what they're going to volunteer for. So I'm looking at some of you right now. So Brad might be really good at keeping things organized. And Fran might be really good at talking to people. So the dumbest thing in the world for us is to assign people to jobs rather than ask them what they want to do. Because if I assign Brad to go talk to people and he'd much rather keep things organized, he's going to give up and not come back. But if I assign Fran to go talk to people, because that's what Fran loves to do, Fran's going to be fulfilled in what she's there for. So in the chat, you guys can, those of you who I can see right here, you can put comments in the chat. What do you hear so far about the care and feeding of your volunteers? By the way, there is a book by that title. I didn't know that when Sue and I came up with this title. I had no idea that there was such a book. What's the mission you're out to accomplish? That's the first thing. And the most important message. And then, what job do they get? Now, we could come up with all kinds of different jobs for different things. Like, think about the projects that you have. Some of those projects might require a lot of manpower. And some of them might only require 2 or 3 people. So how silly is it for us to have 10 people at a project that requires 3, but not have enough people at a project that requires 10? So do you have jobs identified so that you can assign people to them? Do people know what their job is? Looking for warm bodies. How many of us have said, all you have to be able to do is fog up the glasses and we'll invite you to be a member, right? If I put a pair of glasses under your nose and you fog it up, you can be a member of our club. Except that we don't want warm bodies. How would you like to be considered a warm body? It's the first disrespect that we'd show. So what we want is to find the right mix of people. Now, how do you do that? Well, you ask people. You're exactly right, Greg. You talk to people. It's far more important to talk to people about what they're committed to and why they joined. Because I'm sure that if we did a little survey and asked, why did you join Kiwanis? That your answer is probably something like, because my boss told me to. Why do you stay in Kiwanis? What's your Kiwanis moment? What are you most passionate about? Some people love doing fundraising. Some people love talking to other people about participating. What is it that you're passionate about? Those are the questions for us to ask our volunteers. Find time to find out, why did they say yes? And then when it comes to recognition, do we recognize people or do we recognize volunteers? I'm getting ready to do the awards for the past year for Kiwanis in our district. And I could get a nice plaque or a paperweight or a crappy little certificate suitable for framing, which by the way is probably great for something at a meeting that you just want to give to somebody. But there are people who aren't going to be interested in a paperweight or a plaque, but they might be interested in a $10 gift card to Starbucks or a $10 gift card to a bookstore or a $5 gift card to Uber Eats or a grocery store. What do they want, and how can you recognize them and not just them, their volunteering? See, we have distinguished presidents, but they have names. And we have outstanding chair people, and they have names. And are we recognizing the people and not just the volunteers? Do your volunteers get an orientation? So I like to use the acronym ROAR: recruit, orient, activate, recognize and reward and retain. So there's lots of R's at the end. So you recruit, you orient. How do you train people in what it is that needs to be done? We do a bike rodeo. If we say, you go manage that station, but we don't tell you what that station is and what you're supposed to do, the kids will run the station. And the volunteer will be left there feeling like they're useless. So how are we orienting people to what we're committed to and to what their jobs are? And then how do we activate them? How do we keep them coming back? Well, how we do that is by recognizing them, rewarding them, which most of us didn't do this for to begin with. I mean, show of hands, how many of you volunteered because of the rewards? Yeah, I don't see any hands in front of me. I don't know how many people are raising their hands in Facebook, but we don't volunteer for rewards. We volunteer because of the difference it makes for us and for our communities and the people in our lives. Now, is there a hierarchy in our clubs? If we really want our clubs to be a solid and engaged unit, the most effective way to do that is to relate to it like it's our family business. And every single one of us is a staff member. Everybody works there. We're all members of the club. When the foundation comes in to talk to us, they say, you're a member of the foundation. I didn't know that until I heard the first foundation report. If each person in the club is a staff member, if each person is related to as someone who matters, someone who makes a difference, someone whose difference is as valid and as valuable to the organization as the next guy or the next gal, then we'll have a cohesive unit that will move forward and that will accomplish more. So have everyone in the organization included as an important member. Now, how many of us have a membership committee or a recruiting committee? Anybody? Okay. I'm here, so I'm going to do another one. I'm going to suggest something that's going to be a little absurd. Don't have a recruiting committee. Not a committee. It's every person's job to find the people that they want to volunteer with. It's everybody in the club. When I had the privilege of installing new members into our club, what I told them was their job was to find enough people to replace them if they were to get promoted or move on. And some of us don't have a very high opinion of ourselves, but I can tell you that just looking at who's here, there have to be at least 10 for each one of the people I'm looking at. So do you have 10 people that you've found to replace you in your club? Has everybody in your club done that? Tony, you probably need 20 or maybe even 30. I don't know. It's a little backwards down there where it's 21 degrees, right? How often do you do an orientation or Kiwanis education of some sort of leadership training so that people actually are getting something? You know, there used to be a lot of soft skill leadership training. There were a lot of things that we used to be able to access. And people don't do that so much anymore. Our partner organization, the JCs International, used to be a leadership development program that had 250,000 men and 70,000 women in the United States. 6 years ago, there was a total of 10,000 JCs in the United States. I attended a JC's convention in 1984 in Atlanta, Georgia, and there were 15,000 people there. There were more people at the convention than there are in the organization. And that organization was all about leadership training and development. So all of those people are thirsty for the leadership training and development that we can offer them by having them participate in our projects, by having them mentor our kids, by having them participate in Amplify or attend one of these Thursday night sessions. All of that is part of what we get to provide and the difference that we get to make. Now, you're probably getting kind of tired. So I'm going to ask those of you that I can see to stand up because I'm going to share another video with you. And there's a little exercise you're going to have to do. You ready? And I can see if you're doing it or not. So you ready? Here we go. See that kid? That kid is determined. Ready?
Repeat everything I said. I said a boom, chicka boom. 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 I said a boom, chicka rocket, chicka boom.
I said a boom, chicka rocket, chicka boom.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
One more time.
One more time.
Now, I'm not expecting you to have a diaper like he did, but I hope that you all got a chance to move around a little bit there. I'm going to give you a few statistics that I found really interesting, and I have some links that I'm going to send to Sue that we can share with you after we're done. Somebody referenced it a little bit earlier. Volunteering facts and statistics. So there's a website called Trust, TRVST, that has these facts and statistics. There are over 1 billion people who volunteer worldwide. Yeah, I know, Greg, you might need a diaper. I'm not arguing that point at all. The efforts of volunteers worldwide are equal to 109 million full-time employees. Think about that, 109 million full-time employees. The American Red Cross claims that 94% of the work that they do is done by volunteers. 70% of volunteer work doesn't involve any organization. It happens informally between people in their communities. I posted some questions on Facebook earlier this week, and I asked about people and what their thoughts were about volunteering. And there were a couple of people who I know in my community. I asked why they stopped volunteering, and one of them said, I retired, and nobody's asked me. Well, her sister-in-law's in our club, so guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to be calling her and asking her to come to lunch and to consider joining our club. 50% of volunteers work, 57% of volunteer work worldwide is done by women. 59% of all informal volunteering worldwide is done by women. Only 30% of volunteering worldwide is done through organizations. So what are we missing? we're missing the opportunity to invite. Goes back to the very first thing I said, people don't volunteer. People accept our invitation. So who are you going to invite? Who are the 3 people who you haven't invited yet, who might have something to contribute to your club? How are you going to get them engaged? How are you going to recruit them, orient them, activate them, reward and recognize them, and retain them? Retention rates are below 65% for volunteer organizations globally. Below 65%. And more people volunteered in the last 2 years than have in the decades before, because what were we doing? Sitting at home with nothing but time on our hands. So we volunteered. We made donations. And people who volunteer are 2.5 times more likely to contribute charitably than people who don't. So find those people who are contributors. Find those people like you that you want to play with. Invite those people to come play with us. And make sure that they get the opportunity to be recognized for who they are and not for being a volunteer. Is part of the reason for low percentage of volunteers in organizations, because people want to volunteer for something specific rather than Kiwanians who volunteer for everything. Tony, I don't think so. I think the reason that the number of people volunteering is low is because we just don't ask them. Every single one of us, no matter what our profession, every single one of us is a salesperson. The question is, what are we selling? So if we're inviting people to play with us, that's one thing. If we're going about having a great time, but not inviting people, we're out of our minds. I want my friends to be the ones I get to play with. That's why some of you are here tonight. So Sue, I'd like to open it up to questions if people have some questions.
Wonderful. So those of who are on our webinar with us tonight, and if you have a question, if you're watching us on Facebook, go ahead and put your question in the Facebook chat. I am watching that. I want to thank everybody that's joining us tonight on that Facebook chat. And Donna made a comment that says service is key for membership. Isn't that true?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if we just wanted to have a club, I meet with a bunch of retired teachers. I'm not a teacher, but my dad was. So I meet with a bunch of retired teachers on Thursday mornings and we drink coffee. We're not members of anything. We just meet and drink coffee. There's no service involved. We actually today joked about that we could have the Hall of Fame of non-essentials, because we really are non-essential, you know. But if we are committed to the Kiwanis objects and the Kiwanis commitment of impacting the world one child, one community at a time, then we need to start talking to people about it. People who serve us lunch at our meetings don't know what Kiwanis is. And this week, I heard people mispronounce it. And they've been waiting on us for years. But we haven't invited them. There's a small percentage of the population, maybe 6%, and I'm one of those, who's going to invite themselves. The person who invited me to join Kiwanis didn't invite me. She asked me if I wanted to go to lunch, and I said, sure. And I went to lunch with her. And then we went back to the office. I went to my office and she went to her office. And then the next week I said, are you going to lunch again? And she said, yeah, did you want to go? And I said, yeah. And she said, well, you'll have to pay this time because we only buy lunch once. And I said, okay. And I got to lunch and nobody said anything. And I got back to my office and the secretary of the club called me and said, hey, I was wondering if we were talking today after lunch. I was wondering if you'd be interested in being the vice president. And I said, well, it'd probably be a good idea if I joined first. I hadn't even been invited to join, and they were already trying to put me into a leadership role. Now, I, of course, said yes, because that's just how I am. But, you know, there are people that come to our meetings, sit there, and we don't even say, hey, would you like to join us? How many of us have speakers that we don't invite? They don't have time for that. They're too important. They probably have friends in another club. So what? If you don't ask, the answer is no.
Brenda has said that the reason she joined Kiwanis was because of all the programs we are involved with. She was also involved with a lot of single purpose organizations. And I think that's a great point. We are so, as an organization, involved in so many things, right? I don't need to belong to the literacy club or the, you know, the club that does the barbecue, or, you know, the club that's working with the schools. I can do one organization, which is Kiwanis, and get involved in all of that and serve one purpose, you know, and I'm not have to worry about, well, managing the schedule is always difficult, but you know, so Tony says, do you invite people to a meal, to a service project? And, you know, I think it depends, right? Depends on the year, the time of the year. If you don't have a project going on.
Yeah, it depends on what you got going on.
Right.
We have a tendency, we meet weekly, and there are 4 months of the year, no matter what day you work on, that there are 5 of that day in the month. So we meet on Tuesdays. There are 4 months that have 5 Tuesdays. Those months, we schedule a social of some sort. It's usually either at a brewery or a distillery, because our breweries and distilleries donate $1 from every drink if they host us for the night. So it becomes pints for playgrounds. Drink it like you mean it. And so we invite people there. So you can have fun and do this too. I mean, look at that kid behind me. She's having fun. We might as well.
So Kelly on Facebook says she went online and filled out the interest form and found her local club. Within 24 hours, she had a call from the lieutenant governor and the membership chair.
Wow.
She was president of the club within 6 months. She says, I think back now and it was crazy, but I found my passion.
Awesome.
And I think that's what we do. Donna says she joined Kiwanis Club because she was a Circle K member.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a family connection. I joined Kiwanis because I was a key clubber. And I was invited to join Kiwanis the year that they were admitting women, the first year they admitted women. And it took 9 months for my club to determine that I was a member. And I said, okay, whatever, right? You know, if the time comes, it's right. Gary said he was asked 4 times and said no until they asked him to come help with a major fundraiser. And that's when he had fun and knew the members and decided it was time to join.
There you go.
So making that personal connection, as we all do, right? One of the things my club is going to be doing, we're getting ready to give out dictionaries to our schools, and we're going to host a labeling project at the local library. Was, you know, inviting our community to come in and help us put the labels in the dictionaries, show them what we're doing. Valita says she joined Kiwanis because she was asked. Alan was talking in his district to have another Circle K alumni club. They liked it. The first, Tony, our friend from Down Under, said the first Kiwanis club I was invited to join, I turned him down. My sponsor took me to a different club and the rest is history. And now Tony's joining us at 8:33 in the morning on Friday from Down Under.
So we know that tomorrow's going to arrive, right?
Liz wants, can we answer Donna's question? So Donna's question was, how do we get Circle K members to join?
It's got to be relevant to them. The first question, Yeah, I mean, it starts with ask.
I think one of the problems that I've noted is that most clubs tend to do the same service projects over and over and over again, and that's what they budget for. There's really no wiggle room built into most club budgets to take on new service endeavors and all. So I love the clubs that have added to the application, what's your favorite local charity of choice?
Mhm.
And then they make a $20 donation to that charity. And then that gets
Right.
them engaged with some new service opportunities. So we need to keep it fresh.
That's a great idea. One of the suggestions on the club leadership education team call this week was the club surveys, that we have in our ACE tools. Instead of doing one long survey once a year or every 5 years or however often your club does it, do a survey occasionally, sporadically throughout the year and find out what's going on right now that you want us to get involved with. Our club wasn't involved in playgrounds until 6 years ago when I became the club officer, or 8 years ago now. But I talked to people in town and said, what do we need for kids? And they said, we need the playgrounds to get fixed. So we started repairing playgrounds, and we've built 2 playgrounds. That's what there is for us to do.
And I think that's the same with, we talk about inviting former Circle Kers and Key Clubbers. I mean, they truly are our family. They understand us, right?
Yep.
I mean, I've often heard of those members saying they didn't even know they were part of Kiwanis because they never saw a Kiwanian, or they, didn't get involved. But you think about the aspect of just asking them to join, and the same aspect of what would you like to do? Because you're right, we may be doing a project that our club's done for 30 years and has no interest to them. We need to find out what,
and maybe even no relevance to the community anymore.
Correct. Very, very true. Brenda says that they are in the middle of creating a Circle K alumni club that will be virtual, and they will do service throughout their local clubs. So there's plenty of opportunities, to invite people, but I truly believe, as Kathy said, it comes down to asking them. Gary, his club has actually said that they actually have a budget line item for a new member project. Gary, can you explain a little bit about that for us?
Oh, that started, I don't know, back when I was president, but we just line item, just put $500 in there and said, if a new member comes in, we tell them, if you've got a passion and you want something to do something, we will get you the people to help. And here's $500 to help you get it going.
That's
Wow.
a great idea.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's an awesome idea. Greg.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, we brought in about 4 or 5 new members at one time, did an orientation, and then said to them, all right, why don't you guys brainstorm on a project that you'd like to do? So they were brand new members, and and we'll support it. And so you could do that with every new orientation class that you have. Just let them come up with a project idea, whether it's something that you're already doing or not.
Mm-hmm.
That's
a
great idea.
The other thing about Circle K too is they do so much service when they're in Circle K, and then they come to join Kiwanis and, hey, how can I help? Well, you can help us with this thing we got going 3 months from now. And so there isn't enough things going on a regular basis that they can even plug into, let alone something that might be of interest to them.
Right. And I work with the Michigan State University Circle K Club. They've got a project a day. So you look at their schedule, and they're doing something every day, not the entire club, but everybody has an opportunity to do something. So if they're coming into a club, it's like, well, our next project's 3 months from now, they'll be bored. They want to get involved. They want to get active. Brad.
So I want to just throw one more thing on top of that. One of the places where it would be great to include those folks is in working with your K kids, your builders clubs, your key clubs, and maybe even with Key Leader. So you can start to expand some of our other SLPs, our service leadership programs that don't get a lot of attention. I mean, how many of us have K kids in every elementary school in our districts? Nobody. Okay, Brad, sorry, go ahead. You muted yourself.
I was just going to mention that I think that I loved your ROAR acronym there. And I think our orientation programs, at least most of the clubs I've been involved with, are pretty boring. It's just a bunch of good old guys sitting around the table who are committee chairs and talking about their favorite project. And they go on and yammer on and on. And so I like the idea of stuffing a couple of the new members into a car and going on a joyride and driving them around and pointing out the park where we sponsor a bench or where we have a splash pad at this other school, or, you know, anywhere like that. Maybe an anti-bully bench, a buddy bench at another grade school. Go by the YMCA, go by wherever you give money, wherever you have some corporate sponsors and things like that. And to me, even if you have to do it over a few lunch hours or something, it's a lot more fun to point out where Kiwanis impacts the community and all, and perhaps even line up a quick drive by to talk to a school principal or a superintendent to let them give a testimonial about how important Kiwanis is to their school and everything like that. But I think that we really need to bring orientation more alive to our new members and really get them, you know, on the path to really get excited about Kiwanis, rather than just sitting around the table and hearing people yammer on about what they like about us.
Yeah, have an active orientation.
Yep.
I like what Brenda said too. Having the Circle K kids, the Key Club kids that join your club help with social media. I mean, I don't know how to build a website, but there's a kid that graduated from Butte High a year ago who could build a website in about 2 hours. It would take us days to try and figure out how to do that. And then it would be a static page that nobody could do anything with. So let them do what they're good at.
Right. So on Facebook, Robert has said when he was hired for a teaching position, the middle school principal told him shortly after starting he would be joining Kiwanis and it would be on his evaluation. He joined, and that was 25 years ago, and he's still a Kiwanis member. Principal had his own method for recruiting for the club.
That's great.
I like that principal.
That's really great. Yeah.
I like that.
Can we get his name and have that principal orient some of the other principals?
I think we will. I think we will. I'm going to find out where he's from here and go, okay, how do we connect with him? But that's true. I mean, we've got to look at the ways of, he's actually, let's see here. Former district treasurer at Ohio District Kiwanis.
Wow.
So he's from Port Clinton, Ohio. See, that's what happens when you're on Facebook and we can track you backwards to your page. So
we'll find you.
We'll find you. We'll find you. And if there is anyone out there that would like to help with some editing of these videos and these recordings, I would love to talk with them. As I tell our friends, this will actually go live on the Michigan District of Kiwanis YouTube page, and it will be raw, as I like to say, because don't understand the editing component. And if someone was out there that helped me could do it, I'll put the title page on the front of it, and after that, it's just as you saw it this evening. So if anybody thinks of anybody that's out there, that even a Kiwanis member that would love to help us, we'd love to make these videos available in a little more professional fashion. And we all realize we're, doing things just to make sure we get information out there, which is, important, and just as important for us to just so that we're sharing information.
It's really great.
Kathy, any other comments? Any other comments from our audience, or I got to go back to our Facebook page and see if anything else has jumped in there?
I put some links in the chat that Sue will be able to share with people who are on Facebook for the places where I found some statistics. Inside of the conversation about recognizing and rewarding, there are lots of National Day of. How about Long Island Day of, or the Michigan Kiwanis Day of, and have that be a day of recognizing the heroes in your local club who don't get attention. The treasurer who makes sure that the bills get paid and that the invoices go out, but you just assume that they're going to do it because they're the treasurer. That's what they've always done. And recognize the person who's doing that, not the volunteer who's doing that. Anything else in any of those notes, Sue?
No, I think I got everything.
So I want to leave you with a poem that I think speaks to who we are. It's one of my favorites. You might consider that it has a little bit of a religious bent. That's okay. But it's who we are and what we provide. It's called The Touch of the Master's Hand. It was battered and scarred, and the auctioneer thought it scarcely worth his while to waste much time on an old violin. But he held it up with a smile. "What am I bidding, good folks?" he cried. "Who'll start the bidding for me? $1, then two, only two, $2, and who'll make it three? $3 once, $3 twice, going for three." But no, from the room far back, a gray-haired man came forward and picked up the bow. Then, wiping the dust from the old violin and tightening the loose strings, he played a melody pure and sweet, sweet as the caroling angel sings. The music ceased, and the auctioneer, with a voice that was quiet and low, said, "What am I bid for the old violin?" And he held it up with the bow. $1,000, and who'll make it two? 2,000, and who'll make it three? 3,000 once, and 3,000 twice, and going and gone, said he. The people cheered, but some of them cried, "We do not understand what changed its worth." Swift came the reply, the touch of the master's hand. And many of us, with life out of tune and battered and scarred with sin, is auctioned cheap to the thoughtless crowd, much like that old violin. A mess of pottage, a glass of wine, a game, and we travel on. And we're going once, going twice, going and almost gone. But the master comes, and the foolish crowd never can quite understand the worth of the soul and the change that's wrought by the touch of the master's hand.
Kathy, thank you very, very much. That was wonderful. And I hope our friends that are on Facebook enjoyed the time that we got to spend with you this evening. And I appreciate you doing this for all of us. We have shared the information, and we will make sure that everyone gets it. But it's just wonderful that we have people here that are willing to step forward and also, to share their talents and their skills. And we have a lot of Kiwanians out there that can do this. So we're looking forward to showcasing that over the next several months. So just to give you a heads up on what's coming up, we will be meeting every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Again, we will do it on a Zoom webinar. We will also do it on Facebook Live. And if I will do some more research this week to try to figure out how to get it on the Michigan District page. If not, we'll just continue to run it off a Sue's page, and we'll make sure that's out there. We got some thank yous. Great job from Katrina. Thank you from New Jersey from Donna. Basil said thank you for the session from the Charlottetown PEI Club. I missed one went by. Thank you from the virtual New Kiwanis Club of West Michigan. Gary would like a copy of the poem. We'll make sure we get that poem available and make that out to people. You're a gem, Kathy. I'm just trying to cap up. Thank you from Belita. So we will we'll get the Zoom address out. Lee Kwan Young is with us, first time on the program.
Yay.
I said, well done, thank you. And I can't even imagine what time it is where Lee Kwan Young is. I haven't even thought of that, right?
Well, if it's 8 o'clock where Tony is, or 9 o'clock where Tony is, it's probably a couple hours off.
No, it's after midday for me. So it'd be about 9:30, 10:30 a.m. for Lee.
Oh, perfect. Kathleen says, wonderful job. So we got friends joining us from all over. So next week, we will have a brand new Kiwanis program. And Brad, I'm going to let you introduce that program for us.
Okay. Well, actually, it's been in formation for a while. I think some of the genesis was with the Rocky Mountain District and Burt West and everything. And so we're going to be launching in May, I believe, but you're going to get the sneak peek preview of it. A program that we're calling 2 for 2, and it's going to be an evergreen membership campaign, just asking 2 members of the club to bring in 2 people every month and everything. So I think that you'll find a lot of very easy elements to do it, very easy to implement and to encourage and to sort of make it your own program. And so our own Chris Martz is going to be with us next week. Thanks to Sue carving out some time for a little membership plug. But I think that this group is so close to membership and really bleeding Kiwanis in terms of passion that you'll really find that a very motivational and inspirational program. And we're hoping that you will be sort of the guinea pigs that can, give us some constructive feedback on it and also help us to be cheerleaders as we launch it going forward. There, Sue's got it going there. So
I want to thank Brad for that. We will, I encourage you to invite your colleagues and your friends to join us. This is a great opportunity for us to be in the forefront of what's going to come out in May. And you think about it, it's February, March, April, May gives us 3 months to get some stuff together and to be someone that can support it and say, you know what, I was there when. What a great program that they're bringing forward to us. The week after, Ann Updegraff-Spleth, who many of you may remember is the former Chief Operating Officer of the Kiwanis Children's Fund, is going to do a program for us on how to manage in today's world the opening rituals that we do in a club, pledge, prayer, and song in an increasingly diverse community. How do we manage that? Ann's going to bring that to us. And then I actually have a couple other programs. We have a program the end of March, which will be called Mythbusters. A past governor of the Michigan District, Liz Latrell Wilson, is going to do a program on breaking the myths of being a lieutenant governor.
Ooh, nice.
You know, there's a lot of stuff out there about being a lieutenant governor. Why? So we're gonna do that. Carol Minion Stern, who many of you remember was the CEO of UNICEF and a very strong partner of Kiwanis International, is now with the Walmart Foundation, if I remember correctly. And she has agreed to come on and talk about leadership. And then we're going to do a Women in Kiwanis Leadership Day. So I will be reaching out if anybody has any input or anybody they'd like to join us, please do that. And we also have a couple other people that we are going to host the trustee candidates on May 12th and the vice president candidates on May 19th. We'll get that advertised as well and try to figure out, we're trying to get all that out there. We have a few other presenters. I have someone, an author, Terry Shepard, who has a daughter who has Down syndrome. And he is going to do a program for us on, and I wish I could find it. I can't quite find the title of it, but he's going to do that one. And then a few other people that I've reached out to that I know. But again, if you have someone that you would be interested in sharing with the rest of Kiwanis, please feel free to reach out to me either by Facebook or my email address. And we would love to have them join us. When you think about how many days, we will go through the middle of November, right before Thanksgiving. The U.S. Thanksgiving holiday is when we stop the program, but we are welcoming everyone, whether it's about Kiwanis or not about Kiwanis. And I putting up some information together for a couple of proposals for a couple of speakers. And I said, we've actually done a program on Cajun cooking and hunting alligators. So we are open to, doesn't necessarily have to be all about Kiwanis. We want to have some fun here. So
we got to make sure those Louisiana people get included.
That's right. That's right. We will be reaching out to the District of Malaysia, who is very active in Down syndrome. For those of us that had the opportunity to visit them, we will be doing that as well. And Lee Kwan Young actually said it's 9:45 a.m. or 9:51 a.m. tomorrow in Malaysia. So it'll be a perfect timing for him and some of his colleagues from Kiwanis to be involved. So with that, I want to thank everybody for being with us tonight. We will share out the rest of the information, get the post ready. And I just encourage you to follow my personal Facebook page, the Michigan District of Kiwanis page, and we are posting this on the membership, some of the Kiwanis International sites. But our goal is really to make sure that you as members of Kiwanis and your friends and family, we're not limiting it to anybody, have an opportunity to learn more about what we do and know that in this time of connection, we all value our relationships and our friendships. And this is a great way for us to stay connected when we can't see each other in person. So with that, I will stop our recording, and those who want to stay on can do that, but we will stop the recording. And on behalf of everyone here in the Michigan District and myself, stay warm. Some of you have lots of snow. Some of us have lots of snow. Some of you are enjoying 60 to 70 degree weathers, but it's okay. So have a great evening, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
And if you don't ask, the answer is no.
That's right.
And
it's 21 everywhere.
Sue,
Yes,
this
yes.
is Brad real quick. I was real excited to see the promo for Ann Updegraff-Spleth's thing, but I think it extends even beyond the rituals. So I've had a couple of young professionals who aren't as Christian focused as some others who they love to ring the bell, but they don't really believe in the mission of the
Right.
Salvation Army and those types of things. So I hope that we can get into some of those things, because I think those can sometimes be a barrier to new members. The same with, some of us aren't real big fans of the felt and fringe banners with all the patches.
Right.
We'd rather see them go modern. And, we think that reminds us of our grandfather's Shriner days or whatever. So